Let's get straight to it. Number 10 is the blue-ringed octopus, and this tiny little guy is basically like if someone made a Pokemon character but forgot to mention it could kill you in minutes, because despite being smaller than a tennis ball, this adorable little cephalopod carries enough venom to kill 26 adult humans. And we're talking about a creature that looks like it belongs in a children's book with its beautiful blue rings that pulse like little LED lights when it gets excited. But here's where it gets crazy. Those gorgeous blue rings are literally a warning sign that says, I'm about to end your existence. And the venom is so potent, it causes paralysis within minutes while you remain fully conscious, which is like being trapped in your own body while your respiratory system just decides to take a permanent vacation. And the worst part is, there's no antidote. So this cute little ocean dweller is basically nature's way of saying, just because it's pretty doesn't mean you should touch it. Number 9 is the slow loris. And if you've ever seen one of these big-eyed fuzzy creatures getting tickled on social media, you probably thought, aw, I want one as a pet. But that's like wanting to cuddle with a tiny assassin, because slow lorises are literally the only venomous primates on Earth, and they produce toxins and glands on their elbows that they mix with their saliva to create a bite that can cause severe allergic reactions, tissue death, and even put you into anaphylactic shock. But wait, it gets weirder, because they actually lick their babies to coat them in this toxic mixture for protection, which is basically like a mom putting poison ivy all over her kids before sending them to daycare. And those enormous eyes that make them look so innocent are actually designed for hunting in complete darkness, where they move through trees like silent death ninjas that happen to look like stuffed animals come to life. Number 8 is the pufferfish, and sure, they look like underwater balloons with googly eyes when they puff up into perfect spheres, but these adorable little guys are basically swimming chemical weapons that contain tetrodotoxin, which is 1,200 times more deadly than cyanide. And here's the thing, one single pufferfish has enough poison to kill 30 adult humans, and there's no antidote. So if you eat the wrong part, you're basically playing Russian roulette with sushi. But here's where it gets absolutely insane. Despite being incredibly deadly, pufferfish is considered a delicacy in Japan, where specially licensed chefs spend years learning how to prepare it without killing their customers, which is like having a profession that's literally professional poison remover. And even with all that training, several people still die every year because apparently the thrill of maybe dying from your dinner is worth it to some people.
Number 7 is the poison dart frog, and these tiny colorful amphibians look like someone painted them with the most vibrant neon colors you can imagine, making them absolutely gorgeous to look at. But that bright coloration is basically nature's way of putting up a giant neon sign that says, do not touch, because just one of these frogs that's smaller than a paperclip contains enough poison to kill 10 adult humans, and we're talking about toxins so potent that indigenous people have been using them to tip their arrows for centuries, which is why they're called poison dart frogs in the first place. But here's what's really crazy, the frogs don't actually produce the poison themselves, they get it from the ants they eat, so they're basically little poison factories that process toxic insects into concentrated death. And some species are so dangerous that just touching one with your bare hands can cause serious harm, which means these living rainbows are beautiful from a distance, but deadly up close. Number 6 is the platypus, and this weird egg-laying mammal with a duckbill and beaver tail looks like God's rough draft of an animal that he forgot to delete. But don't let the goofy appearance fool you, because male platypuses have venomous spurs on their hind legs that can deliver a toxin so painful it can incapacitate a full-grown human for weeks. And we're not talking about regular pain, we're talking about agony so intense that morphine doesn't even help, which is like having a migraine in your entire body that lasts for months. But wait, it gets weirder, because the venom actually gets more potent during mating season, so these adorable semi-aquatic creatures turn into even more dangerous versions of themselves when they're feeling romantic. And the pain from a platypus sting is so severe that doctors have to use nerve blocks just to make it bearable, which means this cute little monotreme is basically a living torture device disguised as a children's toy. Number 5 is the leopard seal, and while most seals make you think of cute circus performers balancing balls on their noses, these Antarctic predators are basically the polar bears of the ocean, disguised as adorable marine mammals because they can grow up to 12 feet long and weigh as much as a small car, but still have those big round eyes and whiskers that make them look like oversized puppies until you realize they're apex predators that hunt penguins, sharks, and even other seals with the same efficiency as a great white shark. But here's where it gets absolutely terrifying. They've been known to attack humans who get too close to the water's edge, and their massive jaws can crush bones like they're made of paper, while those cute little flippers can propel them through water at speeds up to 25 miles per hour, which means if one decides you look like lunch, you're basically being chased by a torpedo with teeth that happens to have the face of a stuffed animal.
Number 4 is the cassowary. Italy's giant flightless bird looks like a real-life version of a dinosaur that someone painted in beautiful blues and blacks with a gorgeous casque on top of its head. But don't be fooled by the pretty colors, because cassowaries are literally considered the world's most dangerous bird, and for good reason, since they have dagger-like claws that are 5 inches long and can literally disembowel a human with a single kick. But here's what makes them extra terrifying. They can run up to 30 miles per hour through dense jungle while jumping 5 feet high, which means if you anger one of these prehistoric-looking beauties, you're basically being chased by a feathered velociraptor that can parkour. And those stunning helmet-like casques aren't just for show, they use them to crash through dense vegetation like living battering rams. So this gorgeous bird is essentially a 6-foot-tall rainbow-colored killing machine that can outrun most humans while looking absolutely absolutely fabulous doing it. Number 3 is the cone snail, and these gorgeous sea creatures have shells so beautiful, they look like they belong in an expensive jewelry collection with intricate patterns and stunning colors that make them irresistible to beachcombers. But picking one up is basically like grabbing a loaded weapon because cone snails are equipped with a harpoon-like tooth that fires venom faster than you can blink. And this isn't just any venom, we're talking about a cocktail of toxins so complex that scientists are still discovering new compounds in it. But here's where it gets absolutely insane. The venom is so fast-acting that victims often don't even realize they've been stung until they start experiencing paralysis, and there's no antidote. So these stunning shells are basically beautiful death traps sitting on tropical beaches waiting for unsuspecting tourists to make the worst souvenir choice of their lives. And some species have venom so potent it can kill a human in under 4 minutes, which means this gorgeous mollusk gives you less time than it takes to soft boil an egg. Number 2 is the polar bear, and sure, they look like giant teddy bears with their fluffy white fur and seemingly cuddly appearance, especially when they're cubs rolling around in the snow, but these Arctic giants are actually the largest land predators on Earth, and they're basically 1,500-pound killing machines disguised as stuffed animals. Because polar bears are so powerful, they can smell a seal from 20 miles away and detect one under 3 feet of snow, which is like having superhuman senses wrapped in a package that looks like it should be sitting under your Christmas tree. But here's what makes them absolutely terrifying. Unlike other bears that are omnivores, polar bears are pure carnivores, which means they see everything that moves as potential food, including humans. And they're so efficient at hunting, they have a 50% success rate, which is basically like a professional athlete, but for murder. And those cute little paws are actually massive weapons, with claws that can be 4 inches long and strong enough to crush a seal's skull with one swipe. So these adorable Arctic giants are essentially apex predators that happen to look like they belong in a children's nursery. Number 1 is the duck-billed platypus. And wait, I know I mentioned platypuses before, but here's the absolutely mind-blowing part that makes them deserve the number 1 spot. These adorable egg-laying mammals are so evolutionarily unique that when European scientists first saw specimens, they thought someone was pranking them by sewing a duck bill onto a beaver body. But the real kicker is that platypuses are basically living Swiss Army knives of danger, because not only do they have those venomous spurs that can cause excruciating pain for months, but they also have electroreception, which means they can literally sense the electrical fields generated by other animals' muscle contractions, which is like having built-in radar that works underwater and makes them nearly impossible to escape from if they decide you're a threat. But here's where it gets absolutely insane. Platypuses close their eyes and ears when they dive, so they're essentially hunting completely blind and deaf while using only their electrical superpowers. And that cute little bill that looks like a toy is actually packed with 40,000 nerve endings that can detect the tiniest electrical impulses, which means this adorable semi-aquatic mammal is basically a living torpedo with heat-seeking capabilities disguised as something you'd win at a carnival. And the fact that they're one of only 2 mammals that lay eggs just adds to their status as nature's most adorable evolutionary experiment gone completely wrong. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.